Alrighty then. What is up to the YouTubes? It is your boy, SAK Horobi on Moxfield. I am SirFetched770. Come check out my decks if you'd like. I'm starting a little bit of a new series here for the StraightAMagic YouTube channel. I'm going to call these, I don't even know, 10, 12, 15-minute deck techs. We'll workshop the title. Hopefully the audio is okay. This is my personal first time recording. I'm using a headset microphone. I'll need to get a new one soon, so I apologize if the quality is not up to par. So in these videos I will be breaking down a commander deck that I've played, that I enjoy, and that I sometimes play in our little personal pod with me, Busted, Average, and Curb. So today we're going to be taking a look at Elenda and Azor and my list for this deck. Oops, don't want to spoil anything. Elenda and Azor is a 6-mana Esper commander. 3 and the colors of Esper for a 6/6 Vampire Knight Sphinx, which is just, I think, one of, if not the most badass types in the game. I just think that's so cool. Just a second. Refresh the page. There we go. This has the updates present. Cool. It's flying with Ward 2 on a 6/6 body. Whenever they attack, you may pay X in the colors of Esper. If you do, draw X cards. This feeds very well into its second ability. At the beginning of each end step, you may pay 4 life. If you do, create a number of 1/1s, which are black Vampire Knights. The Knight part is super important. You'll see why later. With lifelink equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. As I am sure you can imagine, this can get out of control very quickly, especially if you're drawing a bunch of cards each turn, which this deck is designed to do. Draw a lot of cards in bursts, make a bunch of tokens, double, triple those tokens, make them stronger, because this is kind of Knight/Vampire tribal, which means that we can capitalize off of A, creature ETBs, B, the Knight creature type, and C, just going really, really wide. The other cool thing is we do play some cards that can make Elenda and Azor themselves absolutely massive and hit home for very, very large amounts of damage very quickly. So yeah, I'm going to talk about maybe a couple key cards, go over each of the creatures and stuff, so y'all can see them, and I can tell you how this deck aims to win. Obviously, in terms of the creatures for the draw engines, we've got a couple. Consecrated Sphinx and Nezahal, to name a few, as well as Rafine. Rafine does conniving, so you're drawing and discarding. You can also put +1/+1 counters on the creatures that are conniving. If you have, 8 Vampire Knights on the board, suddenly that's 16 power, and 8 new cards, which can be, if you have one of our token doublers or triplers on the board, that can get very, very scary very, very quickly. After that, we've got some stuff that triggers upon tokens ETBing or leaving. Mirkwood Bats is extremely good at this. Corpse Knight is also very, very good at this. Soul's Attendant and Soul Warden give us life gain when they enter, which kind of mitigates the life cost of our commander, which can be extremely powerful. Medallion Wave Knight and Herald of Hoofbeats and Knight Exemplar, as well as Sanctum Seeker, can capitalize off of our vampires just existing. The Sanctum Seeker is more for when they attack. Knight Exemplar makes both our commander and our tokens indestructible and makes them bigger, which can be a huge swing later in the game. For some of the finishers, of course, Psychosis Crawler can wrap up games very quickly. Herald of Hoofbeats just get in for obscene amounts of damage. Shieldred is here for chip life gain and chip life loss, but which can also spiral very quickly. If you wheel, that's 14 damage across the table and you're gaining 14 life, which can be crazy. Sarah Ascendant, if you drop this turn 1 or 2, you're going to be way ahead already. It's probably one of the better white 1-drops in the game, barring, you know, Esper Sentinel and the Soul Sisters. And then the Moonshaker, I can't talk, I'm sorry. Moonshaker Cavalry is probably one of my favorite finishers in white. It feels like a white Crater Hoof, but not necessarily better, but more niche at times. I love this card. In terms of sorceries, lots of wheels. Dark Deal, Windfall. Pitiless Carnage is kind of a wheel, but just for yourself, because if you have a bunch of excess knights, you know, you can do a lot with that. Distant Melody is just fucking incredible. If you choose vampires or knights, doesn't really matter if you forget one and don't forget the other. But you're just going to be drawing a crap ton of cards and making a bunch more tokens that end step. Our Reckoning is one of the only 2 board wipes we play. Sorry, 3. Olivia's Wrath is crazy in this deck. It can be such a massive blowout for 5 mana. Demonic Tutor if we need a piece. Insatiable Avarice if we need card draw or a piece to start getting ahead. Pitiless Carnage is incredibly underrated, especially for that plot cost. You can just put it away for later whenever you have a bunch of tokens. Sacrifice all of them, draw a bunch of cards, deal a bunch of damage with one of our many card draw damage effects. Or, you know, make a bunch more vampires, or do both, if we're lucky enough. Instance, it's practically all insulation and removal. An offer you can't refuse. Probably one of the 3 best 1-drop counterspells. I see people hating on Strix's Serenade. Nothing feels better than countering a scary commander, like a Turgid, or, I don't know, a Tivit, or, I don't know. A lot of my friends play scary commanders. But also, artifacts and planeswalkers can be very scary as well, countering even a Soul Ring, which I usually don't do because, you know, we don't hit mana rocks here. I mean, I did in a Gauntlet game, but that's just me. Cycrift, you know it, you love it. Clever Concealment, again, insulation protects your board, plus it's so easy to cast. Dovin's Veto can get rid of any board wipe or something that's threatening your commander or your board state, and Lightning Tutor can go find any of our handy utility artifacts or enchantments. Flawless Maneuver is another one, just incredible. And then probably the 2 best removal spells in the game, in my opinion: Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile. Why wouldn't you play those? Pull from Tomorrow is sometimes a win on the spot on the stack if you need to. Can very, very quickly end a game if you left a bunch of mana open. And then Tolarian Winds can be a blowout. This card is absurd. Actually insane. This card has put in so much work. As for the artifacts, Almret's Archive, another just a doubler. Are you sensing a theme? A lot of things that double things. We'll get to more of those down here. Crazy card. I mean, just does so much for the deck, especially if you're able to drop it turn 3 or 4 before your commander comes down. Can be crazy, especially because your tokens have lifelink via Elenda and Azor. That can be a absurd amount of life gain. Regular mana rocks, Skull Clamp, draw a bunch of cards. Soul Ring, obviously. Spellbook. Cards like these that give you no maximum hand size are so important. Extraordinarily important cards. Do not sleep on these. Also, if you notice, I don't play a ton of black spells, except for a few in the creatures and a few in the most of the sorceries are black. As you can see, there are virtually no instants from the instance, no black cards, excuse me, from the instance down. I find that leaning into the Azorius heavy card draw theme can be much better because those offer more card draw in bursts, which is what I'm looking for with this deck personally. But I will take recommendations if y'all have any. Leave them down in the comments. Swiftfoot Boots, protection. You can play Greaves if you want, but I like to be able to target my things. 3 Talismans, fixing for your commander, or just extra mana. Wand of the World Soul can be enormous with your X spells or your bigger spells in general. Thought Vessel, again, spellbook abilities are insane. Another Procession, win condition, don't need to explain it. Divine Visitation, win condition, don't need to explain it. Ghostly Prison, insulation early game, protection, also bait for removal. Knowledge is power, can be absolutely ridiculous. It is a finisher, it is an early game finisher sometimes. Just an absolutely incredible card. This card is so slept on, I swear. Remora and Ristic Study, staples. Draw you into your pieces early game, or if your opponents are popping off, you can do it and let an Azure effect because it's at the end, if you notice, of each turn. Not just your turn, each end step. So if you have a Consecrated Sphinx and or Nezahal plus a Ristic or a Mystic, you can be making those vampires throughout each turn. Nerd Rage, stupid card. Unreal card. It's an immediate draw 2, which it just replaces itself and then gives you another card that's +1. Plus it can put your commander at very, very easy lethal very quickly with a no max hand size spell. Ominous Seas, another win condition. You're drawing a bunch of cards all the time. I mean, it's the deck's theme if you haven't noticed already. Drawing as many cards as possible. Make a bunch of 8/8s. If you have a way to double those up, it's even better. Plus, if you have an early game and you don't have a way to draw cards immediately, you can cycle it away and try to find another piece. Prof's Eidetic Memory is probably my favorite card from Murders at Karlov Manor, or Murders of Karlov Manor. I forget the exact name. Sue me. When it ETBs, you draw a card. Again, it replaces itself. That's crazy. No max hand size. It's 2 mana for that effect. Same with Wizard class. Basically the same thing. The important thing is, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've drawn more than one card this turn, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn -1. If you have a big bursty draw turn, which a lot of times we do, even if it's 4 or 5 cards, plus it's repeatable, this can be absurd. It can make Elena and Azure huge. It can make another creature huge for a good block. It's diverse, but it's also, linear. Propaganda, again, Ghostly Prison, same thing. Protection early game. Ristic Study, already talked about it. Teferi's Ageless Insight, arguably the best card in the deck. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Just this paired up with Almaret's Archive is triple card draw. Or is it? No, it's ×2. It's ×4. So it's draw 2, then draw 2. I think is that how that works? I forget. I forget what the Oracle text says. Anyways, either one of those is just crazy. Plus it's only 4 mana instead of 5. And then Wizard class, no max hand size. And that third stage can end up being very, very strong later in the game. Pretty simple land base. I think Arcane Sanctum will probably come out for something better. Maybe just another regular basic. Very basic land. Maybe some cycling lands for that additional juicy card in your hand, because this deck loves to draw cards. Anyways, if y'all have any recommendations for this deck, or if you want to see more content like this, please let us know. This deck is super, super fun for me to play. I enjoy winning with it. I hope you have enjoyed the video. With that, I will catch y'all in the next deck text.